Conservative new media viewers, Jeremy Lin fans around the world, what's up? It's me, PFE, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. We're here to discuss the Brooklyn Nets' 120-112 victory today over the New York Knicks in Brooklyn, New York. Nets improved to 12-53 on the season, including 8-24 at home. The Knicks fall to 26-41 on the season, including 11-24 on the road. Let's get right to it. Woo-hoo! This game was one of the most important games in Jeremy Lin's career, and we're going to talk all about it. And when you look at the stat sheet, it's not going to show it. And when you look at the standings, it's not going to show it. And if you didn't watch the game and you don't know Jeremy's history, you won't understand it. But I'm telling you, this was one of the best performances and most important performances of his career. What happened in the game, and I'll talk all about it here in a second. What happened in the game was the Nets built a huge lead. They got up by like 22 points. And then in the third quarter, the Nets started struggling. They started kind of fumbling around, and Jeremy was struggling very badly in the third quarter, and that affected the rest of the team. And so the Knicks started making a push, feeling good about themselves. If you remember, I think it was the second game. This was the third game played between these two teams this year. In the second game played between them, I think it was, the Nets had a double-digit lead, and they lost it. They blew it. And I think it was in Brooklyn. And what happened was there was a bunch of Knicks fans at Barclays Center, the same way that there were today. And you would imagine that's not a big shock, given that it's Manhattan borough versus Brooklyn borough. The Knicks fans are all over the five boroughs, so they can just come over from Manhattan or anywhere else. And so it was a heavy Knicks crowd today. And the Nets started to kind of wilt. They started to fold a little bit. And a lot of that had to do with Jeremy. And again, I'll talk more about that in a second. Then, early on in the fourth quarter, the lead got down to like 5 points, 4 points. Then the bench started pushing back, and then Jeremy came back in, and he was outstanding down the stretch of this game. He was the man in the fourth quarter. He had 9 points in the fourth quarter. He had one assist and a couple other would-be assists, and he basically became a battle between Jeremy versus Carmelo Anthony in particular, and also Derrick Rose. And Jeremy Lin was being guarded by Courtney Lee down the stretch of this game to give him even more trouble, because Courtney Lee is a better defender than Derrick Rose is. And so the Knicks knew that they needed to slow Jeremy down. And to make this even more clear, Jeremy was struggling in the first three quarters of this game. And it really got bad in the third quarter, as I said earlier. But in the first three quarters of this game, he was like 0 of 9 from the field, and only had a couple points on free throws, and just his confidence dipped. And like I said, that kind of like the whole team fed off of that, and that's where things started to pull away for the Nets. But in the fourth quarter, Coach Atkinson put him back in the game in a way that McHale and Byron Scott wouldn't have done. And Jeremy delivered huge. And it's so important for him to overcome his own struggles, and so that the coach trusted him enough to let him overcome his own struggles and give him a chance, instead of pulling the plug after Jeremy had a couple of tough quarters. That's why this game was so important. Jeremy overcame all of his past and all the tough times, and coaches doubting him and players doubting him, and Jeremy being so frustrated. You know, remember in Houston, he would get so upset and stressed out between games, or if he had a bad game, and it's like the whole weight of the world was on him. And you could feel it when you watch this game. You could feel him being stressed and putting pressure on himself. And in third quarter, I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to go. And it's going to be a tough video because you know me, I'm going to tell the truth, what I see. And it all changed in the fourth quarter. That's why I'm calling this game the comeback. It wasn't a comeback by the Nets. It was a comeback by Jeremy Lin, personally. And Coach Atkinson gave him the opportunity to make things right. And Jeremy ran through the wall like a cannonball going through paper. When he got the opportunity, he made everything right. In the fourth quarter, he forgot about all of the struggles. He let go of all of the nervousness, and he dominated down the stretch of this game. And this is a turning point in Jeremy Lin's career. It is. And it's a turning point for the Nets franchise. And the reason why it's a turning point for the Nets is because they're essentially Jeremy Lin's team. And I'm not taking anything away from Brook Lopez. But this team is building around Jeremy Lin heavily. And so if he's struggling, they're struggling. If he's focused and confident, they're focused and confident. That's what happened down the stretch of this game. Coach Atkinson made some great comments after the contest was over. I mean, somebody asked him basically, were you feeling good about putting Jeremy back in the game because he struggled so much? And I mean, Coach Atkinson, it was like there was no hesitation. It was like, yeah, of course. I mean, it wasn't even like he didn't even answer the question. In other words, he just like, well, yeah, it was time for Jeremy to come back in the game. Like, of course I'm going to put him back in. That is, as we know as Jeremy Lin fans, that's so much different than what he's dealt with before. And that's how you lose a player like Jeremy Lin, who needs to feel comfortable, who needs to feel supported. A lot of times people that are intelligent, they think a lot. Jeremy thinks a lot. Those types of people, sometimes you got to give them a little more rope. You got to show them that you trust them so that they can settle in. That's what happened today. And it paid off for the team, and it paid off for Jeremy Lin, and he showed the past is over. I'm not the player I was in Houston. I'm not the player I was with the Lakers. Remember, there have been various coaches, McHale and Scott, who have both basically inferred or said that Jeremy will lose his confidence. I remember Byron Scott saying, yeah, he'll play great, and then he'll lose his confidence. Well, he lost his confidence today, and then he got it back because the coach helped him, gave him the chance to get it back. Now Jeremy knows he can overcome the struggles, and the coach is going to let him overcome the struggles. I remember hearing a similar story about Russell Westbrook. And I'm not saying Jeremy Lin's going to become Russell Westbrook, because he's not. But early in Westbrook's career, he was having a terrible game, and he was shooting the ball. He couldn't hit a shot. And then he went to the free throw line or something at some point late in the game, and the crowd started chanting for him, like, Russell, Russell, Russell. And he said that changed everything for him, because then he knew he was supported. Then he knew the people were with him. And today Jeremy Lin knew that the crowd was with him, even though there's a lot of Knicks fans there. And the coach was with him, and the team was with him. This is what he needed, and he got it today. And now we are moving on, and we can put all of this stuff behind us. I'm not saying Jeremy's never going to have a little minor crisis of confidence again. He very well might. Every player does. That's the way basketball is. If you can't hit a shot or something for a while, then you start wondering what's going on. But this is a turning point. This is a point of inflection for Jeremy Lin and for his career trajectory. And that's why this is one of the most important games of his career. And he delivered. Not only did he deliver well down the stretch. He delivered with force. Like when it came in the fourth quarter, he knew that Carmelo was going to try to take over, and he did. Carmelo was incredible in the fourth quarter. And Jeremy knew it, and he accepted it, and he accepted the one-on-one. Okay, you want to go? Let's go. And he delivered on that. That's what I'm saying, is this is going to... He went from no confidence and negative confidence to super confidence. And he succeeded, which means the confidence will grow going down the line. The only way you build confidence is through success. And you can't build confidence if you won't face your fears. And you can't face your fears if your coach won't let you do it. So now he's finally been able to work through this with a coach that let him do it. And now it's like a rite of passage, and you can move on. This is enormous. I can't overstate this. It's just huge. So, incredible win. The team has now won 3 of their last 7 games. So, remember, this team was a joke. They were getting pounded into the dust after Jeremy got hurt early in the season. Every game was a blowout. Every game was the same thing. People were sick of it. I was tired of it. You were tired of it. And it was like, when is this ever going to end? Well, it's ended. I've said it. This team is a different team after the All-Star break. And to be fair, it started right before the All-Star break. And now they believe, and they are growing up very quickly right before our eyes. And it's not just Jeremy. It's everybody. Isaiah Whitehead, Karis LeVert, everybody. Okay, so this is it. This team can compete now, and they can win now. And I expect, this is what I expect to see. If this team's healthy for the rest of the year, this is what we expect to see. At least against the teams that are not the 4 or 5 most elite teams in the league. And I'm not saying they can't compete with them, because we know they can. Remember, they were up on the Warriors by like 20 points at the halftime in Brooklyn. So, but they should be able to do this most nights now. Maybe they don't win every night, but they should be in the game pretty much every single night. And getting Jeremy Lin this confident and going downhill is going to help a lot to that. Okay? Now let's go through. I'll go through my notes for the game. And I also am going to say this. Brooklyn had 23 assists and 12 turnovers in this game, which is almost exactly the same numbers that they had in the Dallas game. The difference is New York didn't play nearly as well as Dallas did down the stretch. That's why I said in the Dallas game, Brooklyn didn't play that bad. Just Dallas played out of their minds. And tonight, what Brooklyn did was enough. It just wasn't enough against Dallas, who was just playing on a different level. Okay, and I should say, the first thing I'll say in my notes is that Coach Atkinson said after the Dallas game, right after it in his interview, he didn't like the shot selection in that game. So if you're a Jeremy Lin fan and you weren't happy that Jeremy wasn't getting enough shot attempts and maybe Sean Kilpatrick was getting too many, you weren't alone and you weren't making it up. Now, Coach Atkinson didn't say Sean Kilpatrick took too many shots, but that's basically what he meant, because Sean Kilpatrick missed a bunch of shots in that game. And things might have been different if Sean shot a couple times less and maybe Jeremy shot a couple times more. On the other hand, you have to remember, Sean Kilpatrick had 2 huge games in a row. He had like back-to-back 20-point games. So he's just trying to make it happen. That's part of a young and inexperienced team. How much should I shoot? How much should I pass? If I don't shoot, is somebody else going to carry the load? These guys don't know that yet. You only know that because they haven't played together yet, and a lot of these guys just don't have a ton of NBA experience. Even if they're a couple years older than a rookie, they just haven't played in the NBA very much. So these are all things that you have to learn, and Coach is learning, and he's a rookie. That's why it's different for Coach Atkinson than a Rick Carlisle, the coach of the Mavericks, who's been around forever as a player in the NBA and as a coach. He knows all this. He knows it like the back of his hand. You can only learn it by going through it. And honestly, I've always been a Coach Atkinson fan since I first learned about him. I think he's going to be a great head coach. I think he does have it in him to be tough when he needs to be tough. Right now, this is a learning process, and he's given everybody a lot of leash to kind of figure it out for themselves, rather than I'm going to hammer on you and you're going to do exactly what I say. He's letting it go a little bit more. The guys will figure it out, even if it's annoying at times, and Sean Kilpatrick shoots a lot, and Trevor Booker brings the ball up too much, and so forth. Just give it some time. It's getting better, okay? Second thing, the scoring of Brook Lopez was critical in this game, and it just shows you how much that was missed in the Dallas game. Brook had 25 points tonight, and he hit 6 3-pointers. That was missing badly in the Dallas game. Like I said, when I say this is Jeremy Lin's team, I am not taking anything away from Brook. I'm talking about the way that they run their offense, and Jeremy is the guy with the ball in his hand. If Brook was the point guard and Jeremy was the center, then maybe I would say something different. But this team flows through Jeremy most of the time. So that's the way it is. But Brook is still Brook. Brook's an all-star, and he's a tremendous player. And so you certainly saw the difference between him playing tonight and him not playing in the Dallas game. His scoring was big in this game, and his shooting was just out of this world. 6 of 9 from 3. Okay, now that my third note is Lin is this is in the first quarter, Lin working hard for fadeaways as his one-on-one move. Good, make sure you get the separation you want. And what happened in this game, all through the game, but particularly early, was Kristaps Porzingis was blocking shots like crazy in this game. Let me see. He had at least 5 block shots. Yeah, 5 block shots in this game. Kristaps, in his bare feet, is about 7'1.5". He's one of the tallest players in the NBA, one of the tallest players ever in the NBA, and he's athletic. So, I mean, his standing reach isn't far from the rim. So you get a guy that tall and that athletic, and he just jumps a little bit, and he's going to swat your shot. And he was bothering Jeremy and other guys. This is why it's so important that Jeremy is able to shoot on the perimeter. You can't always rely on getting to the basket on drives. It's not always going to be there. It's what Coach Clifford told his team when they played in the playoffs against Miami last spring. Hey, you can't drive to the basket because Hassan Whiteside's back there. You're going to get your stuff swatted back. And that's what Porzingis was doing in this game, and that definitely contributed to Jeremy's struggles. I mean, he was just all over the place, what Porzingis was. So that's why you have to have a reliable jump shot. It's not enough to be a great driver. You have to hit shots. And early in this game, Jeremy couldn't hit shots. And part of that was because Porzingis was shadowing him on certain plays. Okay, moving on to the second quarter. Jeremy had his first turnover in the game. He went in transition. He went to do a scoop shot, like a scoop layup, but at the last minute, the defender planted, and Jeremy ran into him. And so you have to be careful of those plays. I mean, it's not a big deal. Those plays happen all the time, but I thought that at this point in the game, this is about midway through the second, or a little bit, I don't know, like 5 minutes left in the second quarter. I thought Jeremy was starting to press. He was starting to force a little bit. Like, I felt like he was getting frustrated with not being able to score. Like, he had missed some shots, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get an easy layup in transition to get myself going, and he didn't get it, and I think that built the frustration a little bit more, and that frustration would peak in the third quarter. Okay? Now, a little bit further along in the second quarter, Ian Eagle, the Nets announcer, who had some great puns in this game, great wordplay, some of which I mentioned on Twitter. He said that sometimes when the Nets go to their bench lineup, which is the small ball lineup, which is Spencer Dinwiddie, Isaiah Whitehead, Sean Kilpatrick, Trevor Booker, and Quincy Acee. It is a small lineup. That is a 3-guard lineup. Basically, Kilpatrick's another guard, along with Whitehead and Dinwiddie. And he said sometimes in that lineup, Dinwiddie will play small forward, which makes sense because Dinwiddie, I think, is taller than both Kilpatrick and Whitehead. So I didn't know that because usually Dinwiddie's bringing the ball up a lot of times because he's probably the best. He's probably the best point guard among those 3 players. But I guess on defense, sometimes he'll slide over to small forward because Dinwiddie is about 6'5" or 6'6", and he can probably guard small forwards a little bit better. That's one of the reasons why I think they kept Dinwiddie over Yogi Ferrell. It's not that Yogi Ferrell can't play. Obviously, he can play, and he's playing well in Dallas. But they wanted more versatility and length, and as a length on defense. That's why I compare the Nets all the time to the Warriors. The Nets want a whole bunch of good-sized athletic guys so that you can switch on defense and you just have more opportunities and combinations of lineups. Spencer Dinwiddie lets you do that. Yogi Ferrell really doesn't let you do that because Yogi's about 5'11", as I said in the previous video. Now, early in this game, and I have to check, I'm not sure, Coach only played 10 players. Whereas usually he will play 11 players. So that was a little bit of an alteration in this game. And let me see. Yeah, and that's all he played. He went to 10 players in this game rather than 11. And remember, it just shows you, he's played 11 for a long time now. He's still figuring it out. He, as a rookie coach, still doesn't know exactly what he wants to do. If you listen to Steve Clifford talk, who was Jeremy's coach in Charlotte, he'll sit there, he's like an encyclopedia of basketball. Coach, how do you want to do your lineups? I want to play 9 men because if you play 10 men, no, they don't get enough minutes. So Coach Clifford knows exactly what he wants, just like Coach Carlisle knows exactly what he wants. Atkinson's not there yet, and you can't expect him to be there yet. That's why things that happen with this team and with players on this team, for more experienced teams and coaches, you'd think, wow, man, they should know this. Well, these guys don't know it, and they're not going to know it yet, and they have to learn it. So give them time to learn it, including coach. There are going to be some mistakes. There are going to be some weird times and bad shot selection. That's part of the learning process. But these guys are learning quick. Now, this is the worst team in the NBA. They were a joke earlier in this season when Jeremy got hurt. And now, within one season, they've turned it all around. That is incredible. Credit has to be given to everybody. But remember, they're still learning. They're not there yet. And that's okay. Don't expect them to do something that it's not reasonable to expect yet. They just have to figure all this out. And look, Coach played 10 and it worked. Also, I should have said at the beginning, Brook was back for this game. Obviously, the ankle's okay. The only person who was hurt for this game that I'm aware of is Joe Harris. Joe Harris is still out with the bad shoulder and the concussion. But look, it lets you play other guys, and the 10 that they played tonight looked great. As I said, Quincy Acee has pretty much taken Justin Hamilton's spot. I think that's fairly clear. I think Joe Harris will be in the lineup when he comes back. Maybe he's number 11. And my guess is he'll get some run in that second unit. Or he could even start. I mean, he could start for Randy Foy's spot. But my guess is Joe will get a chance. But there's enough talent on this team now. You're okay if a guy gets hurt, at least if it's not Jeremy Lin or Brook Lopez. So that's good to see. But so that I just want to mention that. I forgot to set this table in the beginning of the game, who was out and who was not out. Okay, let's move on into the third quarter here. Now, I made a note here. Remember, if you watch the last video, I said that there's the old axiom of the first game back after a long road trip, which was the situation for the Nets today. And the first half, there was no problem. But after the game and during the game, After the game, Coach Atkinson said, yeah, Jeremy was fatigued today. And that's probably why I was missing all his shots. If your legs are tired, you're going to miss shots. And they're usually going to be missed short. And so, yes, Jeremy's building back up to more minutes, but he's still not there yet. And if you take months off or you're out weeks with injury, it's going to take time to build back up, to get your conditioning back. And that's what happened to Jeremy today. I was surprised it didn't happen to the rest of the team, but it didn't, which is good. That tells me that the Nets training and performance staff is doing a good job. But it also shows you Jeremy's not back to full level yet. So we have to give him some more time, and he can't be super Lin until he's at full conditioning level. And he's still working back up to that. Okay. Now we go to the third quarter, and this is where things bottomed out for Jeremy. At the start of the third quarter, the Knicks put Courtney Lee on Lin. And that said to me, they think if they stop Lin, they're going to stop the offense for Brooklyn. And so they were very concerned about it, and to give them credit, it was working for a while. Okay? Then Jeremy missed 2 3-pointers. Relatively, I don't know, in the middle of the quarter, something like that. Maybe in 9 minutes left, 8 minutes left. The first one he missed was I think it was an off the dribble from the top of the arc, and he missed it, and it was an air ball. And the crowd was like, oh, afterwards. They didn't start chanting air ball, because remember, this is like a Nets crowd, but it was a lot of Knicks fans. But you could tell the Knicks fans were happy. And that is like, you could see his confidence was really faded there after that. Not just because he missed, because of the crowd reaction. And then right after that play, Randy Foye passed the ball to Jeremy to give him another 3-pointer. Like, okay, we know you're struggling. Here's another shot. Take it. And he missed that one. And so at this point in the game, I believe Jeremy was 0 for 9. The crowd was on him, and he was pressing, and I think he was, I got to score. In the last 4 games, he's averaged about 18 points a game. Right now, he's got about 3 points. And I just think he's stressed out because that's the way he's wired. Remember, he had to be the savior of Houston basketball. So I think today it's like, I got to be the savior of Brooklyn basketball, and it's not happening, and now the crowd's on me. I think Jeremy started having flashbacks, all those bad old days. McHale punking him out, and Scott punking him out, and so forth, and Kobe trash talking him, and all that stuff. And this is when I was like, "Whoa, boy, this is tough." And if it was McHale, he'd get pulled right now, and so forth. So this was the low tide here. Okay, then he started to come back. And then he made, right after that, soon after he missed that shot on the pass from Randy Foye, then he had Karis LeVert brought the ball up rather than Jeremy, and then he had a bad decision where Jeremy passed the ball to Isaiah Whitehead with about 3 seconds left on the shot clock, and it basically became a shot clock violation because Isaiah couldn't do anything with it. I honestly believe, again, I'm saying this in the context of this was one of the best performances of Jeremy's career, what happened later. I thought that moment Jeremy was totally stressed out and his mind was just blown. Like he was just, frustration and nothing was going right. And he, as the leader of the team, not only the leader overall and the leader as the point guard, was messing up. And it was affecting the team now. And so it was like the crowd was turning, the power level, if you like a power level on an arcade character, was going way down, and everything was starting to slip away, and the Knicks knew it. The Knicks started going a surge. They could tell. It was like the Nets were all of a sudden the weak animal that you prey on because it's weak. And a lot of that weakness was coming from Jeremy, because his confidence personally was down on the floor. And so it was like, this is when I was like really concerned. I was like, man, this is going to be tough. I don't know. But then he did have a nice assist to Brook Lopez for a big 3-pointer. That started to turn the tide, even though the third quarter was still difficult for him. Then the Knicks started making more of a push, and they got the lead down to 7 points. And we went to the end of the third quarter, 91-80 for Brooklyn. So they had withstood, the Nets had withstood the first charge by the Knicks. Knicks had cut the lead down to 7 or 6 or whatever, but then the Nets kind of held the fort a little bit and were able to withstand it. Now, as we go into, I'm trying to think, when did Lin came out of the game? Jeremy came out of the game with about 5 minutes left. So again, he's playing 7-minute quarters. He came out, and the Knicks were down like 9 points or something like that. Or no, they were down 11 points. Then the Knicks made a surge because they started making a surge when Jeremy was out there, and they kept making a surge, but the bench fought them off a little bit, and that's where we were at going into the fourth quarter. Then Quincy Acy hit another three-pointer start the fourth quarter. He was like 4 and 3s in this game, and the guy's shooting. He's got to be shooting like 55% from threes as a net. It's unbelievable. I mean, this guy, if this guy can shoot threes at like a 40% clip, he's going to be just an unbelievable steal for this team. I mean, because he's tough, he plays with energy, and if he can shoot, I mean, like I said, Justin Hamilton's never going to get a chance again because Quincy Acy is going to be playing. And thank goodness for him because he was big in this game, really big. Okay, so now the Nets started making their push. They kept pushing, although the Brooklyn was pushing back. When Jeremy came into the game, he came in with 7 minutes left, 7 minutes and 7 seconds, something like that. And the score was 102-95, so Brooklyn up 7. Also, right before that, they mentioned on the broadcast that Brook Lopez is one of only 12 players in NBA history to have 100 three-pointers made and 100 blocked shots in the same season. So congratulations to Brook. I mean, like I said, nobody thought Brook was a three-point shooter. He wasn't a three-point shooter before this season. So you got to give him credit for expanding his game. I mean, he's become a fairly decent three-point shooter, and he certainly was great today, and they needed all of them. The Nets as a team, I think, hit 17 threes, which is fantastic. Jeremy comes back into the game, and now it's like, okay, first of all, Coach went to him, which wouldn't have been done by McHale or Scott, and he was ready. And I remember he was sitting over, and I was watching him on the bench after he went out, and the third quarter again was the low ebb in confidence and everything. And he had a towel kind of like wrapped around his neck. And I'm like, man, I wonder how he's going to come back. I knew Coach was going to put him back in because Coach has a set rotation, and that's what he does. And, well, how's he going to play? Is he going to kind of shy away from the moment and turtle up or not? And it turns out that's exactly what he wasn't going to do. He came back with vengeance and with force, and it was Jeremy time down the stretch of this game. And again, credit to Coach Atkinson, not only for putting him back in the game, but down the stretch of this game, many of the plays were for Jeremy. Like, okay, we're going to set up and you do your thing. To your deal. You take your guy off the dribble, you set something up, you call for a pick and roll, and you do your deal. It's all in your hands. And that is huge for Coach Atkinson to do that, and it definitely paid off. Okay, so soon after he came back in, had a pass that was his 5th assist of the game to a Rondae Hollis-Jefferson dunk, which led to a timeout for Brooklyn. That came with 6 minutes and 5 seconds left. 104-95 Brooklyn. You could see Jeremy was super pumped up. That kind of like cleared his mind. And one of the things we've said before with Jeremy is, look, he is not the greatest one-on-one player. And that's okay. He doesn't need to be. However, if you're struggling with your shot, just give the ball to other people who can dunk it or something. Give the ball to Brook Lopez 2 feet from the hoop. Give the ball to Rondae Hollis-Jefferson 5 feet from the hoop and let him dunk it. In other words, don't put all the pressure on yourself. Use your teammates. You can still dazzle and use your teammates, and that's what he started to do. So I think that play to Rondé kind of was like, yeah, I can do that. I don't have to score. It's not all on me. I can just make the pass, and they dunk it. And that's exactly what happened here. Okay. Then we're going on to, I put now Lin is passing more. Good. Don't force shots. I said, don't. If it's not there and your legs aren't there, just pass the ball and work it. You can still control the game without scoring. That's something that Magic Johnson and Larry Bird showed. You don't have to score to control the game. If the ball's in your hand, you control the game. Then Melo hit a big three-pointer. Melo was on a roll right now. He was rolling. Like he had scored 10, 13 points in a row for the Knicks. And now Jeremy was like, okay, you want to do that? Here we go. I'm going to hit a three-pointer off the dribble right after you, Carmelo Anthony, hit a three-pointer. That's what I'm doing. Now you knew the battle was on. And Jeremy was accepting the challenge. And he had laid down the gauntlet. And he wasn't going to turtle up. This was what was going to become the comeback game for Jeremy Lin. Right after that play, then he had a round-the-horn pass, meaning he started the sequence of passing. He passed the ball to Brook Lopez. Brook Lopez passed the ball to Karis LeVert, made three-pointer. Then I think Lin had a steal. After that, he went down the other end of the court. He went for a layup right into Porzingis. Porzingis fouled the heck out of him. And Jeremy went down hard. It took him a moment to get up. It's like, oh, no, please don't be hurt again. And he wasn't. That, not only was it a great play by Jeremy, it was an aggressive and brave play, it was also the sixth foul on Porzingis. Jeremy knew exactly who it was. He knew that if he got him to foul, it would foul him out of the game. And that means the guy that's around there blocking everybody's shot is going bye-bye. And that's exactly what happened. He made one free throw, missed the other. Now I put the thing, Mr. Fourth Quarter. All confidence has returned. Then Melo scored again. Then Jeremy got the score on a layup and was fouled against Willie Hernan Gomez. And it looked like Jeremy was talking smack to Willie Hernan Gomez also. So he went from like, oh my God, I airballed a three and the crowd's going against me. Oh no, I'm like small as a little 6 inches man, to Superman talking smack and going back and forth with Carmelo here. This is what you want. If you're Jeremy or you're a Jeremy Lin fan, this is what it's all about. This is why this game is so important. This carries over. You know you can do it now, and you're doing it. And so you never have to go back to that other nonsense and foolishness of the Houston and LA years. This is gigantic. Okay? Then the thing was 116-105. You could see Jeremy and Melo were kind of going at each other a little bit. Obviously, they don't guard each other, but they were kind of banging and scratching and kind of, going for steals against one another. They both knew this was them. This was a showdown between Carmelo and Jeremy, with some Derrick Rose thrown in, because Derrick was going at Jeremy also. It's just like what Jeremy did to Porzingis. Look, this guy's hurting us, so I'm going to go at him on defense. Well, that's what Derrick Rose was trying to do to Jeremy Lin. So even though most of the offense went through Carmelo, they got some plays for Derrick to try to see if they could get some fouls on Jeremy and kind of just get him off his game. Well, it didn't work, but I understand why he did it. Okay. Then he missed a shot on a blocked scoop layup attempt by Lance Thomas. Nice play by Lance Thomas, but Jeremy's still being aggressive and doing it. Courtney Lee came down. He hit a three-pointer. Brooklyn took a really silly shot, and the score was now 116-108 Brooklyn, I believe. Then Jeremy came down and he had an assist for a foul to Brook Lopez. So he passed the ball to Brook for a transition layup attempt. Brook got fouled going in. Jeremy doesn't get the assist, but obviously he's the one that made the play happen. I think Brook hit both free throws. Then Derrick Rose came down. He went against Lin. He scored a layup and got the foul. So that was the little, okay, let's use Derrick Rose to attack Jeremy stuff. Then Jeremy missed another layup attempt right around the basket. He did what's called a step-through move. You stop and you rotate on your pivot foot underneath the man. It was a great move by Jeremy. He just didn't have the right angle on the shot, so he missed that. Then Jeremy was bringing the ball up the court, being guarded by Courtney Lee, and he fell on the ground, like while he was still in the backcourt. So it's like, sometimes Jeremy will have like an awkward moment where he'll lose his dribble or something. Well, this time he just fell down. I don't know what happened. He probably slipped on sweat or something. But he fell down. It's like, oh no. It was like 45 seconds left, and it's like, oh man, come on, get up. Is he going to turn the ball over? Didn't turn the ball over. I think he passed the ball to, I don't know, one of his teammates, and then got the ball back. And then he did the little drive against his man, stop, pivot, fade shot against Courtney Lee. That was his third score of the game, and that was the dagger. That came with 28 seconds left. That put Brooklyn up, I believe, by 10 points, and that was it. The full comeback had been achieved. Like I said, Jeremy went from pressing and nervous and doubting to superhero, Mr. Fourth Quarter, Mr. Clutch. He overcame all the struggles. Coach had full confidence in him. His teammates supported him, and he outdueled Melo and Derrick Rose down the stretch of this game. And boom, that was it. And just to cap off the game, make it totally complete, Carmelo Anthony airballed a three-pointer with about 10 seconds left in this game. So that was the final little cherry on top of the sundae. And I should also say that Jeremy's defense down the stretch of this game was fantastic. He was getting his hands on the ball in different spots, and he just turned up the level of his play. Again, when you're struggling like Jeremy was struggling in the third quarter, you got one or two choices. You either fold them up or you make your stand. And Jeremy made the stand. Once you make the stand once, it gets easier to make it over and over again, particularly when you succeed with it, which is what happened to Jeremy today. Like I said, this is one of the best performances, given all the circumstances, given how much he struggled early, given he was going against Carmelo Anthony, who was one of the best scorers in the history of the league, going against Derrick Rose, former MVP, being guarded by Courtney Lee. Your own crowd's turning on you, and you have to get it done, and the coach is basically saying it's up to you. And Jeremy came through with 9 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist in the final 7 minutes of this game, including a unconverted assist, 1 assist that was a foul, and one of those around the horn plays that basically he started that ended up in a Karis LeVert 3. I also think he got 1 steal down the stretch of this game. So I cannot be happier. This is one for the vault. This is one that changes the trajectory of Jeremy Lin's career, and it also helps push the trajectory upward of the Nets as a franchise. This was big. Not only was it a win, it was a win against big brother bully, the New York Knicks. They own the town. And you lost them twice already this year, and now you got your win. And you did it, and you had to dig to do it. And this is fantastic, man. I'm just burnt right now because I had no emotion on Twitter and everything. I'm just like, whoo. It's like, smoking a cigarette after like a tense game or something like that. But just a phenomenal game. Now, I'm looking right now. Brooklyn hit 19 three-pointers in this game. The franchise record is 21. This was the second most ever in the history of the franchise. Jeremy Lin's final stat line: 13 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. He played 27 minutes, shot 3 of 14 from the field. So he struggled. 1 of 6 from three-point range, 6 of 9 from the free throw line, 1 steal, no block shots, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls, plus minus was a -3, and I will say one of those turnovers was not his fault. He basically shoveled the ball to Brook, and Brook didn't expect it, which is what happened in the last game. He had a great feed to Quincy Acey, and Acey just didn't think the pass was coming. All 3 of Jeremy's made shots in this game came in the fourth quarter. So when he had to dig in and he had to get it done, he did it. And he proved it to himself, and he proved it to his teammates, and he proved it to his coach, and he proved it to the team that gave up on him after insanity. So this is it. This is the pinnacle. And you won't know it, and nobody will ever remember this game that's not a Jeremy Lin fan. It's just another game on a Sunday. It's not a big deal between 2 teams that aren't going to the playoffs. This was the comeback. This is a turning point, and I could not be happier. This was a fantastic outing for Jeremy Lin and for the team. And look, not only did Jeremy fight through all the unconfidence and everything, he also fought through the fatigue. I think Coach Atkinson is 100% right, and Jeremy's legs weren't there because of the long road trip and because Jeremy's not back up to full speed yet. But he found a way to succeed even with that. And that's what the great players do. If you can't win one way, find another way to win. And that's what Jeremy did today. And he led this team. As I said in the third quarter, that Jeremy's lack of confidence started affecting the whole team. Like it was like, oh, they're all nervous now because the leader's nervous. Well, Jeremy's super iron will in the fourth quarter also affected the whole team. So everything that happened before the fourth quarter was all made up for by Jeremy Lin in the fourth quarter. And that's what it's all about. That's how you get it done. And that's perseverance. I said to somebody on Twitter, this game is a microcosm of Jeremy Lin's entire career. Looks bad. Oh, man, he's not that good. Oh, boy, he's nervous. He really isn't what we thought. He's not so much. He's a fluke. And then, boom, he just doesn't give up. And he keeps working, and he keeps grinding, and in the end, he wins. And that's what happened today, and that's how he's gotten to this point in his career where he's finally ready to fully explode as a full star in the league because he's worked so hard and he never quit on it, even though other people might have quit on him before. He didn't quit. Whew. That's all we have to say about this game, so let's talk about the next game coming up. And I mean, this is a long video. Now, hopefully, I hope you guys have enjoyed it and stayed with it because it's worth it. This was just one of those games, one of the most important games of his career. And now I can't wait to see the next game because the next game is going to be crazy as it's coming against Russell Westbrook and the Oklahoma City Thunder. It's only going to get harder now. I think Russell right now is the MVP of the league. He's having an unbelievable season. He's averaging a triple-double. Guy is playing out of his mind. And as I mentioned earlier, Russell Westbrook had one of these games early in his career when he had nothing going and he was losing confidence and the crowd picked him up. You know, so it's relatable to it. No matter how great you think all these players are, they all have their own little issues. They all have their own drama and their difficult moments. And Russell got through it and Jeremy got through it today. That game will take place 2 days from now, Tuesday, March 14th, here in the United States, again against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder are a good team. They are a better team than they were before the trading deadline because they traded for a couple players. I can't remember who they got right now, but it's just escaping me right now, but they definitely got better. They are they're about 8 men deep of real talent. I know how they got Taj Gibson and Doug McDermott from the Bulls. Their 9th and 10th men are, and I'm talking about their Domantas Sabonis, who I like, but he's a rookie. And then their backup point guard, Christensen, I can't remember his name. He's kind of, he's a rookie as well. You can't rely on rookies, as we know. Their top 8, though, are darn good. Obviously, it starts with Westbrook, but you also have Taj Gibson is now the starting power forward. You have Steven Adams at center. Steven Adams still has a lot of work to do to grow. He's a monster. He's very physical. He's everything you want in a center. He's athletic. He's tough. He's great. He's going to be a heck of a player. So this is not going to be an easy task. It's going to be a tough game. And the Thunder are surging. They're going to make the playoffs, but they're trying to get better position. So they're on a roll recently. So this is going to be a very challenging game. I think it should be a great game. If the Nets play the Thunder game like they play tonight, this is going to be a terrific game. I mean, because OKC is going to bring it. And OKC is like Memphis. They are very physical. They're big, and they will beat you up. So I can't wait. It should be a fun showdown. We get to see Lin versus Westbrook, too, which should be a whole lot of fun. Okay, that is it for now. Hope you're having a great night or great day wherever you are around the world when you watch this video. Today was just one of the special days. One of those landmark days. It's like watching the hero and one of the... they'd make an ode or a poem to this if we were in ancient Greece or ancient Rome. This is one of those days and one of those moments for Jeremy Lin, and it was just fun to be a part of it. And now the story gets even better, so let's move on. Let's see what happens against OKC, and we will pick it up from there.